So thank you so much for coming. This is the 9th annual Voices Carry reading. I cannot believe we are this reading began at the suggestion of a dear friend of Cecilia and I, named Shantae Whitley-Head, who sadly is no longer with us. And she was the director of the forerunner of the Decatur Book Festival, the Atlanta Book Festival that used to happen in the city. And she approached Cecilia and I about putting together some type of poetry reading. And so we put one together, and the first one was held at the Carter Center. And since then, it's kind of jumped around to different venues all over town. For the last 2 years, it's been here. And we are thrilled that Georgia Center for the Book and Poetry Atlanta have agreed to kind of take on Voices Carry as one of their annual projects. So thank you, Georgia Center for the Book, and thank you to Poetry Atlanta. We have some really fantastic poets today, and I'm going to introduce all of them at once, and then they will come up one by one and read for you. And I'm going to start and read a few poems, so to kind of break the ice. So we will begin with Helen Losse, and she is the poetry editor emeritus of the Dead Bugle School of Southern Literature, and the author of the poetry collections Mansion of Memory, Seriously Dangerous, Better with Friends, and Gathering the Broken Pieces. And then next up, we will have Jessie, Carty, who I'm happy to say is a pressmate. Her new book, her last 2 books have been published by Sibley Rivalry Press, which published my book, Render. And she is the author of the poetry collections, An Amateur Marriage, Paper House, Fat Girl, and the brand new Morph that just came out from Sibley Rivalry Press. And she is the founding editor of Referential Magazine. And then we're going to have Erica Wright, who is the author of Instructions for Killing the Jackal, and the chapbook Silk, and her debut crime novel, The Red Chameleon, will be published next year by Pegasus Books, and she is the poetry editor of Guernica Magazine. And I read Instructions for Killing the Jackal. It's a fantastic book. I highly recommend it. And finally, we will have Cecilia Wallach, who flew in this morning on the red eye from Los Angeles to be here, and we really appreciate that. And she is the author of the poetry collection Sacrifice, Sigan, Late, and Carpathia. She is a recipient of the NEA Fellowship, and she teaches at the University of Southern California, as well as hosting workshops around the world, including the annual Paris Poetry Workshop. So that's our slate of poets. Give them a round of applause. So I'm going to begin by reading just a few poems. I'm going to start by reading something from After the Poison, which was the chapbook that came out before Render. And I don't read from this very often anymore, but I thought that I would, because I really like this poem. This is called Fairy Tale Eating Disorders. No food is safe in a fairy tale, a single bite enough to stop your heart or put you into a coma. So who could blame the starving wolf for wanting to eat Little Red, suck the gristle off her skeletal frame, hidden behind her riding hood, the picnic basket a ruse, so the girls won't notice at school her sharp shoulder blades and sallow skin stretched over toothpick ribs? And what about Snow White, who already has texture issues? She'll never eat fresh fruit again, or comb her hair for that matter, because the mirror is back-talking, making her paranoid about the prince, says he's got eyes for a skinny maid, so she'll hide her dinner in napkins or discreetly vomit in a chamber pot, the comfort she once took in apples, now gone to rot. Pity the witch in her candy house, luring chubby children into her oven, having them build their own pyre. She's too weak to even cut them up, hopes their flesh will fall off the bone into her swollen mouth. Even a crone isn't safe these days from poison and processed food. And Cinderella, slenderizing for the ball, working her fingers to the bone, blaming the stepsisters so she can fit in a size 0, ride a garish coach, not be the pumpkin she sees in the mirror that whispers to her at night, calls her two-ton Jessie, says she'll be alone if her foot cracks the dainty glass slipper. No one likes a fat princess. And now from Render, which just came out back in the spring. And I will begin with this. This is called Wonder Woman. And I'm reading this one for Cecilia because I know she loves it.
I don't like it.
She loves it, and I think that's great. Wonder Woman. The day I told my parents I wanted to trade in G.I. Joe for Wonder Woman must have set off alarms. I wanted to surrender my guns for the golden lasso. More than the dolls, mind you, I wanted to be Wonder Woman. I don't remember who stitched the costume, blue underwear with glued-on stars, a red bustier wrapped around my 7-year-old sunken chest, the golden eagle oddly deflated. The headband and bullet-deflecting cuffs made of cardboard, and a length of rope my father had spray-painted gold in the yard, hooked at my side. I lassoed my poor dad first, demanded the truth, but there was no magic in those rough, twisted fibers. If the rope could have squeezed out an ounce of what he was really thinking, I would have been dressed up as Superman or Batman, a manly cape flying out behind me as I ran around the backyard, hidden from the neighbors, while my dad devised a way to build Wonder Woman's invisible plane. This is called Members Only. Who had a Members Only jacket when they were a kid? It was required you had to have a Members Only jacket when I was in junior high, middle school. Members Only. The have and have-nots become clear in 7th grade when what you wear is the deciding factor on the rest of your life. Whether you will be in or out, or in enough not to be ridiculed. The uniform, members-only jacket, and white Nikes with red swoosh. Got it? Get them at all costs, even if your parents sink deeper into poorhouse whirlpool. No JCPenney knockoffs allowed. Not like that one boy, name long forgotten because he was banished, made unworthy for wearing a fake, the coveted tag altered by his mother's bleeding fingers. These vultures are eagle-eyed, got the scent for cheap goods. It's a playground Sophie's choice, but always go for the jacket. To absorb the flack your feet will take. $9 Kmart's zigzaggy stripe only passing for real a mile away. Keep their eyes above the waistline to that embroidered calling card hanging from the pocket. A key to junior high kingdom. Walk faster. Make your feet blur. Bobby is the only boy who has a leather members-only jacket. Dark brown, radiating money and class. The hallway parts the first day he wears it, gliding over the floor in his shiny new Nikes. An Icarus destined never to fall. He is our God. Called Girl Crush, and it's dedicated to Farrah Fawcett. And it's going to be included in a new anthology coming out later this year called Rabbit Ears, which is all poems about TV shows. And some great poets have contributed to it. Billy Collins, Dorian Lux, some really great poets. So I'm really honored that this poem was chosen for Girl Crush. I grew my hair and feathered it for you. We were the same shade of blonde. I had the red bathing suit poster on my bedroom wall. Your smile, a nightlight, signal to noise. Now I can see that your teeth were clenched. Head thrown back, not so much playful as predatory. eyes telegraphing that the tingling I felt down below was fleeting. There would be no compromise after this image. You refuse to take Charlie's calls or jiggle and giggle your way to stereotype. That smile said, "Set me on fire." Expectations defied, burn faster, consume in a crackling wave. Love remains but is transferred. The curve of your breast said, "I am not a mirror. Look elsewhere." I'm going to close my little set with this poem, which is my favorite poem in this book still. The Virgin Mary appears in a highway underpass. Mary pops up in the strangest places, usually as a window stain or sandwich. But yesterday, she dripped down the wall of a Chicago underpass, brought the faithful running with candles and offerings, blocked traffic. I saw the pictures, couldn't see her face, saw a giant gaping vagina instead. Just failed my Rorschach test, going to hell for sure. If this is Mary, she sure gets around, recasting herself as a Holly Golightly, popping up where you least expect her, causing trouble for the locals. But why would she choose to appear in condensation, burnt toast, or ditch water runoff? Some will say it's proof that she still dwells here, runs like an undercurrent, manifests in the mundane. I say, cut the parlor tricks, Mary. If you want a little respect, come flaming out of the sky on a thundercloud. Ride it like a magic carpet over middle America. Speak in a voice like Diana Rigg or Emma Thompson. Command attention. Instead of this sleight of hand, a stain to be cleaned with soap and water, so easily erased. Thank you.
My name is Helen Losse.
Oh,
Losse, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Losse, no problem. If you were in Germany, it would be Losse, but here we're Losse, L-O-S-S-E, Losse. And this was not at all where I intended to start, but I'm up for a challenge. First poem I'm going to read contains a vision of Virgin Mary. This is from my latest book, Seriously Dangerous. I'll read a couple of others from this book, but I'm going to start with this one. It's called Essence of Orange. Just who left the 7 oranges in the cold, their fragrance wafting from a blue plastic bucket isn't clear. But there they were, 7 orange globes bright as dog eyes. The scent of cirrus clung to my jacket as though I'd hugged fruit to my breast all the way home. Their essence followed me the same way the round brown eyes of the cocker spaniel had followed Drake. The dog appeared on his doorstep during the first vicious snowstorm, but he didn't keep her then. Not her nor her 6 newborn puppies. All those months, the dog's eyes followed him back from the woods, like a truth we deny, for the essence of orange. Later that winter, Drake saw Jesus in a pancake and searched the woods for the dog. He found her in April, brought her home, pregnant again. Drake named his dog Blossom. And since reading from Seriously Dangerous, and yes, that is a burning cross on the front of the book, people have asked me about this. When I went back to school after I had been out 25 years after my, to get my master's degree, I'd been out of school, I studied mostly African American history and creative writing. And so I've tried to incorporate, the study of African American history into my creative writing. Some books more, some books less. But the title poem from this is called Seriously Dangerous. The evening begins with kudzu, summer memories submerged in a deep southern swamp, where spirited black boys, old dryers bob beside alligators. Late in a hot night, flashes of yesterday surface in pain, like the prick of a thorn, the mark of a crown that continues its burn. Low whispers, deep shadows remain where trials by fire have left actual trails. After a rump in slime and muck, with telltale footprints from society's work boots. Seriously dangerous, the cross without a savior, deniable today, but for masks, hoods, cannot burn away filth and dross, nor wash us clean till truth bleeds. And I think I will read a couple of poems from my first book, Better with Friends. This was published in 2009. This is called The Triple Evils, presented in no particular order. I did my master's thesis on Martin Luther King Jr. and King identified the triple evils against which America must rid herself as racism, poverty, and war. He said we must fight the three simultaneously and rid ourselves to become the nation we can become. So this is the triple evils presented in no particular order. 1. Frosty moonlight filters through church window prisms, striking the cross. The hungry one crying out of the dark words to the sacred. In the dark, no one remembers the sparrows. An old man dreams about a cheeseburger and hot fries. Where will he lay his head? Left, half dead, outside in the cold, perhaps through some oversight, shivering and naked with no bowl of hot soup to warm his belly, might as well be dead. Holy candles flicker as they burn. The old man dreams a valid dream. 2. Dirty children line blasted streets, sucking babes who cannot cry, their parched throats swelling amid the rubble. Have they no homes, no mothers? And, oh God, the men, yes, the men, are they so guilty as to die for those who govern with trumped-up creeds, pitting brother against brother, naming for life, stealing divine creation one by one? The world must lock the door to keep war out, the people safe. 3. A woman rises from a third-row seat with stomach churning and lungs that will not fill. She's a pillar of fire who wants to burn like God's voice at midnight. But ice crystals cast thin shadows in the place where she's going in a room filled with strangers. There's no make it plain in the buzz of this crowd. The woman's dream is divorced from the cross, small embers in fallen leaves, the promised land in the incensed air, and all she knows are borrowed words. And I will read a couple from my chapbook. This is actually my latest. This is Mansion of Memory. Was written, was published last year, and it was it's comprised of an earlier chapbook that was out of print by a company that, printing press that no longer exists, and a couple of extra poems, and I published it to raise money for Joplin, Missouri, for after the tornado that was there. Joplin is my hometown and my husband's, and we wanted to do something. I don't look like material for, first line of duty, come in and move all the logs out of the way and stuff, so I tried to do something that was a little bit more me. And this poem also has, connection to this part of the country. At evensong. At 5 o'clock, we left the gift shop, climbed to the Abbey's balcony. The antiphon was about to start. The religious canon entered slowly from all directions, sending chanted psalms through colored panes. Wild lilacs climbed the marble walls, and smoke, then incense filled the air. Soft rays from the setting sun, pinks and shades of muted lavender, that drenched our cool, jacketed shoulders. Excuse me. The colors stroked us, loved us, and we loved softly back. Why, we loved even the shadows and Conyers, where the angel of the hour had simply come.
I love your
Just
water.
I'll get one. I had one over there and I thought, nah, I can do it now. Thank you. Let's see, the colors stroked us, loved us, and we loved softly back. Right, we loved even the shadows in Conyers, where the angel of the hour had simply come, dressed in blue. Cloistered monks had broken silence, and the poems, and the songs and the prayers were humming pigeons, sent bound to our home. Excuse me. And I will read one other short one from this, and then I'm going to read a few from my new manuscript. Perspective. Standing on the wooden railway, leaning against the rail, salty air sticks to my skin. Ocean waves break against rocks near the shore. At times like this, I feel like a child. My needs are simple. Someone to feed me fish, someone to bring me wine, someone to walk on water. Now, pull out some poems. These are from a new book that will be published by Main Street Rag in 2014. These are poems of loss. And I lost my mother in March this year. But these are not all poems about final loss. So there are poems about loss of composure. There are about poems about miscarriage. There are poems kinds of human loss that we experience. And I have no idea how many minutes I read. And so if you will tell me when, you have one more or two more or whatever, that will work. Otherwise, I'll just be up here blabbing all in. This poem is called Blizzard of Want. A woman sits on a rocky ledge where soft dirt clings to the roots of a few scraggly trees, mainly blue cedars. The woman ignores the beauty of Spring River, the warmth of an Oklahoma sun. She picks at a thread on the sleeve of her jacket, scratches a purple seed, peels the layer of pink from the layer of blue. Her hands follow no direction. Her mind, no longer a plan maker. She's all alone on the bank of the river, where she shivers and bleeds, useless, barren blood. This one is about loss of youth. A season of chipped cement. In her mind, she lifts her leg with her hand like a dancer. But she is not lifting her leg like a dancer. No, an old woman now. She angles her foot off to her right toward a low-growing rose. Life as a butterfly, she'd flit from flower to flower, eye heel toe, directing the eye toward the statue of an angel. The angel was smiling before she cracked like a bone and began mocking the old woman's pink shoes in a season of broken stone and chipped cement. Two more? Okay. I will read this one. This one is in two parts, and then I will finish with that one. Greater than any ring, one. As the older daughter, her mother told her many, many times that she would receive her mother's ring upon her mother's passing. She imagined that ring, properly sized, on the finger of her right hand, and how she would sneak a glance at it, cherish it on the sly, remembering stories of how rations during World War II affected even the social traditions of engagement and marriage, how her father had promised more appropriate rings, how her mother got those rings at a later date. But the truth is, ring stories are oral history. 2. On the day she didn't get the ring, purple-black flames rose hot from her belly. Tears, deep as her soul engulfed, made her an overwrought child, but she could not ignore her mother's voice. Greater than any ring, with a tiny emerald chip serving as center in a 3x3 grid of 8 diamond chips, is your born-again, God-given birthright. I prayed to raise you up to. So the daughter offered the ring as a sacrifice against family breach and as a backward example to Esau, who should also forgive his brother Jacob. And then I'll end with this one. I'll end with this one instead, this one. Her actual question. The poet wondered out an image, wrestle verbs and colors into believable details, compile a book by rewriting poems to the chagrin of editors who published them in earlier forms. She fears she might crash to the floor like an aging ballerina, arthritis, having exchanged a pirouette for the propensity to fall. That was another poem. Her actual question is, if she writes the words, I flung a glow-in-the-dark rosary, one for $2 on eBay, into an oak tree, will anyone care? Thank you. Him for a couple of years about coming to our room, and so thank you so very much.
Jessie, Carty.
Afternoon, I want to say morning because I've been in the car all day. I feel terrible because I didn't sleep well, you know, like that happens. And then I get up and I'm like, oh look, it's 8:15, I'm good to go. I need to be out of the house by 9:15. I have like 2 hours. Well, my clock was wrong. It was 9:15. So I got out of the house at 10, which still should have given me coming from Charlotte an hour, right? And then there was an accident. And it took me an extra hour and a half to get here. So I'm like, oh, okay. But I'm still glad to be here. Thank you, Collin, very much for having me stay here. Look, that's good. We'll try that. All right, I've picked roughly 10 poems to read. I think that'll be good on time, so I'm just gonna go. It's funny, you were sitting here reading, and I was picking my poems real quick, and I said, well, I have to read this because of Wonder Woman. All right, this is a chapbook called Fat Girl. I had come out a couple years ago now. But this is Fat Girl, the superhero. You won't be Wonder Woman because you wouldn't wear that outfit. Although, when you were 5 and not fat, you had those red boots that you swore made you run faster. Your least favorite is Supergirl. The girl, the skirt, how close the word super is to supper, and how you'd fall out of the sky targeting the first red Wendy's sign. Maybe you could be the awkward, obscure, gigantic girl whose gift was growing tall. Not out, you notice, but up. She was hefty, having strength and size like a man. I think I have a picture wearing the Wonder Woman boots and members only jackets. And my brother-in-law still wears one. What's sad is he doesn't get why that's funny. So, anyway. I'm just gonna, for my chapbooks, I'm just reading one today. This is a chapbook I had come out last year called Amateur Marriage. But I think this is kind of fitting. I have this poem called Holiday Sweater. Since we're approaching Halloween and the other holidays. In another life, I would have worn holiday sweaters. I want to say this to my husband as he snickers at the 50 or so year old woman in the mall who is wearing a purple sweater with pumpkin pom-poms along the orange braided trim. On one or possibly pockets, there is a touch of white that might be a ghost and a bit of black that belongs perhaps to a bat. Her legs are clad in polyester slacks. She looks like a mother. I'm not one. That wasn't part of this life. But I was once a girl who, when writing her goals at 17, noted college, a husband, 3 children, a minivan, volunteering at church. 2 out of 5 is this life. All right, and I'm going to read a few from, this is my newest book, which Collin was nice enough to write a nice little blurb on the back. It's fun with this book. I felt like even the blurbs, everything about it felt collaborative. The artwork was somebody who read the manuscript and put the collage together. And then as Collin or anybody who's worked with sibling knows, it's just awesome. Great editing. great fun. So this just came out. So I'm going to read most of them from here and then a few new things. This first word, I don't know if this is a real word, but I collaborated on the first poem that's in it with a friend of mine. So she wrote, it's funny, I don't remember who wrote what now. And she said I could put it in the book. But we made a word up called amphibiogenesis, which is how it's the title. 1. The way your skin folds at your joints reminds me of an infant. But even though you are young in frog years, you are not a newborn. Because if you were new, you'd be aquatic, just head and tail and gills, wriggling free of a jellied egg, not unlike cartoon representations of sperm in reverse. No, you would not be here yet, poised amidst rocks, absorbing air through skin and lungs. 2. What if we could morph? If, instead of articulate speech and bipedal form, we could go from child to a second life of wings, formed from limb buds tucked under our shoulder blades, our bodies no longer haired, but feathered as we soar within a liquid sky, so nothing remains vestigial. Did I get that word right? Okay, I'm going to say it right. Isn't it cute, their little tiny waterfalls? All right, sorry, I've got these little sticky notes and then I can't get to them. The second one I'm going to read from this collection is called Everyone Named Her Bright, which I got from a line, actually from an article I read. I just feel like you never know what's going to inspire you. And the article was titled Like I Was Jesus. I was like, okay. But this poem is what's called a bop, which is a modern form for anyone who's tried it. So that line, Everyone Named Her Bright, will repeat. Everyone named her bright, which she thought meant she glowed. She did not connect her ability to read with an intellectual brilliance. She wanted to actually see herself shining, like the moment before the light went out in the refrigerator. Everyone named her bright. In those same early years before school, she pictured Jesus as a flower, curling up from his grave because he rose. She didn't understand how he could be so beautiful and also so constantly cross until she thought, everyone named her bright, of how easily she could move from playtime to anger by finding yet another hole in the white dress she favored for her favorite doll, the doll which she often left naked on the edge of the tub as she waited for it to be altered. Everyone named her bright. Nobody's tried that. They're fun to write. Speaking of form, you don't need to know this is a prose poem, but you won't be able to tell, really. But just so you know. This is called The Girl. The girl with her curly blonde hair had been to Africa. With my mom, though, she said. Her mother, and an award-winning high school history teacher, had won the trip. I'd had her mom, the teacher, for 2 classes, so I understood. The girl, I think being choked, I understood the girl. I think being choked by a beautiful man would be a nice way to go, she said. The girl had not mentioned sex, but it was implied, like John Donne's Little Deaths. Oh, the places the girl was willing to go. To dyeing her hair an obvious red, to learning to drive a stick so she could have an open-door Jeep at 16, to a college as far away in the state as was geographically possible. The girl said, with the right person, it doesn't even hurt, in answer to a question I never heard. All right, I've got 2 more in here and then I've got a couple of new ones. I think of collaboration again. This poem is called Power, and I actually almost gave up on it, but if I really give up on something, I get rid of it. But this one just kept staying. And then I had a friend read a poem similar, and I showed her this one. She's like, oh no, you have to keep it. So I kept it. So this is in 2 parts. 1. With our fists filled with lettuce, we fed the goats, our wrists suspended over the wire fence. My brother said, wood will complete the circuit. Metal will keep you grounded. I have heard of lightning rods protecting homes during storms, and I know you shouldn't shelter under trees during thunder, so I believed my brother. I picked an old bicycle handlebar up and approached the fence. The electricity knocks me back. My brother laughs and runs in circles. I get up tingling and walk towards the wire again. 2. For Christmas, I receive a Simon Says. I take the battery from the TV remote and watch as the game lights up. Red, red, yellow, yellow. My sister whines because I keep winning. I say we can play truth or dare instead, knowing she'll always take a dare. I pull the battery back out, dare her to lick it. She yips with the 9-volt in her hand. She yanks it away from her wet tongue that arches out of her mouth. I grab the battery from her so I can take a turn. It's a true story. This last one from the book I want to read is just a real fun little short one. So the title leads into the poem. It's called Write My Life Story. Write my life story is what you say when I call to tell you I was accepted into graduate school. I'm a poet, I reply. You tell me I should be a real estate broker. I don't like sales, I say. You ask me if I remember the time you read one of my poems. You laughed, I say, which you find hysterical. That one's for my dad, who passed away, but that was his opinion of poetry most of the time. So I had to throw that in there. Okay, 3 more real quick. Pretty good? Okay. I'm going to read some newer ones real quick. So this first one is pretty new after an art exhibit. I'm sorry, this is the wrong one. This is after this foreign movie called Departures. Anybody else? Probably. Anyways, on Netflix. But they have this idea of a stone letter. That sounds really cool. So I tried to write about it. I want to send you a letter, but I rarely compose in stone. To send you the right rock, I need to know not only what I want to say, but how you will take it. Is this the opposite of poetry? Or can you see the poetics in clay tablets, pebbles in Jewish graveyards, in the fact that with enough time, even mountains age? If I pick a heavy brick, will you think I'm angry? If I choose a shade of pink, will you feel I'm calling you weak? And what of the arrow story, or the other tales of shaped stones? If the tips break, will something be lost in translation? And I have a note to write about all the people on the highway. Did you see the day that said a peach along signs up? And it said honk your horns, and nobody was honking. So that's coming. Okay, 2 more real quick. I have a book coming out next year that I call my jobs book, because it's all about various jobs I've either had or that people told me about. But I don't know where this one came from. This is called 80s Hunks Doing Parlor Tricks. This is the way your brain works. Okay. You can't help staring at his mustache. Tom Selleck is his mustache. And he is taking notes as he reads your mind. You are looking for love, he says, which, partially because the mustache makes you say yes, even though you are married. You're glad your husband never stays up for late night TV. He'd turn off a segment on 80s Hunks Doing Parlor Tricks, except he knows you went to the show. Well, I'm looking for love for my sister, you try as a dodge. Tom takes one finger to his mustache and considers you. He knows the truth, you think. He really can read minds. He moves on to the woman next to you as his assistant explains how the seeking has to be for you if Tom is going to dig deeper. The assistant doesn't have a mustache and isn't Tom's Magnum PI sidekick. This little man instead looks more like an elongated version of the Fantasy Island greeter who welcomed the plane on each episode. You wonder where he is and if he reinvented himself, escaping the feathered hair, white suits, and the need to be perpetually peppy. And if nothing else, you hope he is a hunk in sidekick heaven. Okay, last one. Get my water so I don't wait. All right, thank you very much. It's been fun. It's so great to see a great crowd that come out too for poetry. Sometimes you go out and there's like 3 people. So this is awesome. This is a newer piece, so it's not in any collection or anything. It's just something I've been seem to be watching people lately. Not in a stalker way, just like, watching people. So this one's called Public Spaces. A young man manages to look comfortable sleeping in a mall armchair with a toddler across his chest. They are both wearing green. A somewhat older man looks less restful as he reclines on a couch, his head arched backwards, sunglasses still on, cell phone on his palms, fingers not engaged to clutch. Why are they napping here? Lunch break? A reprieve from a house with no AC? Boredom while a wife, mother, son shops? I never see a woman asleep on the benches. Although there's one with her shoes off, bare feet stacked on a table while she checks email on her smartphone. Another one is on Skype with a client, her iced coffee out of sight to the screen, but close to the ports on her laptop. These women are in stages of work while I watch, take notes. Thank you.